It is the Big Ten, and it is Big Ten football only here at the Voice of College Football for the next 4 hours. Two with me, two with our buddy John, who's going to take over at the 8 o'clock hour Eastern Time, right here at the Voice of College Football. So bring those comments, questions to the live stream, and we will address those. We had conversations today. We posted one on the Nebraska channel. Check it out. It's a great conversation with Nebraska Radio Network's Greg Sharp. He is the play-by-play voice. He is the voice of the Huskers. So you have the voice of college football discussing Nebraska football with the voice of the Huskers. And we uploaded that video on the Nebraska channel today. And it's always great to talk to, maybe I've got a little bit of a bias here, but to talk to radio broadcasters of that caliber. So great conversation with Greg. And also we doubled up on Nebraska football today. Adam Carricker. You NFL fans will remember Adam Carricker. He was a first-round selection in the 2007 NFL draft by the St. Louis Rams, played 6 or 7 seasons with the Rams and the Redskins. Nebraska great, Nebraska Hall of Famer, and played for Frank Solich and Bill Callahan, 2003 to 06. Yes. There at Nebraska, we talked Husker football with him, and we will be uploading those segments here in the next couple days. All right, I've got a number of recruiting notes we will get to in just a moment, but hey, let's get to the phone lines first and foremost. And again, your comments, questions there in the live chat. Remember to shop Amazon. When you do, grab the description link in the description section where it says Amazon in caps. It's easy to do. Does not cost you a penny. Same shopping experience. Just use Amazon using the link that we provide to do your shopping. We've got some Buckeye conversation, I believe, headed our way. Mr. David Shields here.
Yes. How are things going, Mark? How's the diet going?
The diet.
Yeah.
The diet is done. We're done with any kind of diet.
Oh, are we back to Twinkies and donuts and the sweets again, or are we still trying to stay away from the bad stuff?
We're trying to stay away from the bad stuff. I'm not saying I'm staying away from the bad stuff. I'm staying away from it more readily than I typically do.
Okay. Good to hear, Mark. Good to hear.
I'm doing that. Yes.
All right. So, I noticed you had a certain team's spring game on this weekend, Mark.
We had a good time. We missed you.
Well, I'm sorry I had to miss that one. Really, really sorry I couldn't catch that one, Mark. But, in the interest of equal time, there is a spring game on April 15th for a certain program called The Ohio State University. I was just wondering, that you might take some time and do a live stream on that one. In the interest of equal time. I know you don't maybe want to upset your largest fan base. I get it, Mark. After, two successive years, they've come out of the woodwork. They've decided to become college football fans after 20 years worth of beatdowns. I get it. But now that's high times for them after 2 consecutive years. So they've got to become college football fans again. All of a sudden, they discovered they like college football again.
Well, David, it sounds like I'm going to have to check out our spring football schedule for April 15th because Michigan, the team that you refused to mention there, but the team up north, they're having their spring game all by themselves, no competition. Now, on April 15th, though, we hear the voice of college football attempting to do our best to cover everyone.
That's right.
We're going to possibly have to weigh Ohio State versus who knows who else, maybe Syracuse. Maybe Pitt or maybe, I don't know, Kansas State as a spring game at the same time that we're going to have to make sure that we give equal time to and equal coverage.
You gotta cater to that heavy Syracuse football contingent here on MarkRogersTV. Is that what we're talking about right now?
I may have to go to our schedule right now and see what kind of difficult decision I'm going to have to make. Am I going to have to weigh the Ohio State spring game against I don't know. It could be the South Carolina spring game or, it could be the Wake Forest spring game. There could be all sorts of options out there.
Just saying, Mark. I mean, you got, I understand, it's your largest fan base and you got to cater to them and, all that, not so good stuff. But I'm just, in the interest of equal time, that's all I'm asking. Keep things here on an
We'll
even
consider
keel.
it.
All right. Just a thought. All right, let's get into some recruiting here a little bit. I was happy to see that Ohio State signed a 4-star running back out of the state of Texas, James Peoples. By the way, a higher ranked running back than the Jordan Marshall running back that was recruited by that team up north. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that. Um, well, I wasn't actually. I should say this. I think that I want to say this is good news for Tony Alford, as I said, who I think needs to get 2 good running backs this recruiting class, especially after Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson. Probably a good chance they're going to be gone after this season. They're going to need probably another running back in this recruiting class along with people. So be interested to see if they take an Ohio running back or if they go out of state again to find another running back. But top 100 recruit, really good get, I think, for Coach Alford. I don't know if you noticed that, Mark. I'm sure you did.
It's right at the top of my notes there.
Okay.
I did not have time to produce a separate video, but I was going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. San Antonio, Texas, 5th rated running back in the country, number 17 rated player out of the state of Texas. And as you mentioned, Jordan Marshall just outside of the top 100 and James People at 94. Here are the numbers from his most recent high school season. 2,044 yards on the ground, 31 rushing touchdowns. Pretty good. 16 catches, 3 touchdowns, 294 yards. So we're looking at 2,300 all-purpose yards and 34 touchdowns in the state of Texas.
Yeah, I don't know if you got to see any of his tape, but
No.
Very explosive. Got some speed. I think got kind of that home run hitter type in him as far as a running back goes. So, I'm glad for Coach Alford. He missed out on Mark Fletcher last year, who I think got some inducements from the University of Miami to go down there and play running back. I think we all know what I mean by inducements. But nevertheless, I think that was a good get. Again, but he'll need another running back in this class. I did notice that there was a little bit of a special that the team at North seemed to have about getting a certain 5-star quarterback.
Yes, we provided some special time for the team up north. Yes,
right.
Yes, we did. We went with our live stream for the announcement of the big 5-star quarterback that they landed.
So he's going up there to make handoffs, Mark? What is that? Do you think that'll be his role up there? I mean, Jim Harbaugh's track record on developing the quarterback position has not been. I mean, what are we looking at? Jake Rudock, Wilton Spate, John O'Corn, Cade McNamara. I mean,
so Ryan Day
are you a little bit
joined
surprised?
Urban Meyer when? 2016?
What's that?
When did Ryan Day join Urban Meyer?
Right after the 2017 season. So he had the last year with J.T. Barrett.
Oh, he only had the 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, the 1 year with J.T. Barrett.
Right. Well, he was the hire after the Clemson debacle in the semifinal game.
Yeah.
He was basically hired, and so far he's done it, which has fixed Ohio State's passing game.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. If you're a high school quarterback with that kind of ability, and you look at Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud, and then you look at the line of quarterbacks that you just mentioned, there's absolutely no comparison. So I don't know where he's placing his confidence there. However, he's made his decision.
No, I hear you. And you know what? They're building off their success. They had 2 good, successful seasons. I mean, I found it interesting. And I know that McCarthy was also a high recruit. I get it. Although, I found it interesting up until the last few games last year. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you were on Mr. Dace's podcast after the Nebraska game, and he was lamenting. And I mean lamenting, because I watched that podcast, about how bad and quote unquote dysfunctional at the time their passing game was. Wasn't that the term he used, if I'm not mistaken, Mark?
You're on the money.
Okay.
And I had no way to disagree with him.
Okay. Now, I would say that obviously he had some bigger games, obviously against Ohio State. I thought he played pretty well against Purdue in the title game. Although anybody with a decent arm any decent passing game fared very well against Ohio State's secondary, and I talked about the problems that their secondary had last year. Hell, they made your boy Sean Clifford look good, Mark. Um,
Sean
but
Clifford aside, how many teams do you think in America had combination running back or quarterback wide receivers had a better passing attack than Michigan
are we talking throughout? You're saying throughout the country or just in the Big Ten?
in the country?
Well, I would say first. I mean, I would put Georgia's passing game, probably a little bit ahead of where they
Yes.
were last year.
Yes.
Okay, so we would say Georgia. Would we say Bryce Young in
Yes.
Alabama?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are the high end programs. I mean, I get that. Obviously, I'd put USC ahead of them. I don't think there's any question about that.
No
Correct.
question.
Um, I would have to do a little bit more detailed list, but those are the programs that come to mind, right off the top of my head.
Yeah. And
I
Ohio
think there's a
State.
few programs actually out in the West Coast.
Yeah.
Washington could
Tennessee.
be another program that
Mhm.
Penix, I think, had a really good year last year. And would you put Oregon's passing game with the type of year Bo Nix had last year?
But you would say that Michigan probably had a top 10 to 15 pass offense.
Uh, are you saying that's borne out statistically as far as what QBR or passing yards
That is
or
born out of our ability to analyze football. So we're taking the statistics, they're meaningful, but that's not everything. We're
okay?
looking at the effectiveness, we're looking at what they produced against better teams and not just slashing awful teams for 500 yards passing, which they didn't do. They didn't take advantage of. Just I was just trying to get a ballpark figure on how many, since you were downgrading the Michigan passing attack and the quarterback position in particular, just how many teams that you felt had a better passing attack than Michigan across the nation last year?
Well, remember, I started by saying that Steve Dace, a long-time fan of the team up north, was downgrading their passing game late in the year, as late as when they played Nebraska. To be
Mhm.
fair, I wasn't the only one doing that. Um, but
I'm
I would
looking
say,
across the nation saying like
oh, go
10 or
ahead.
15 schools that have a better passing attack or had a better passing attack than Michigan last year. And then probably another 15 or 20 that are in the same ballpark.
You don't think that there's you could find 15 passing games better than theirs last year? You're just talking eye test?
I'm talking statistically, I test every evaluation point that we want to put into the equation.
Okay. Well, I think I just named 5 of them about a second ago. I
Sure.
mean,
There's not that many to go to.
right. I mean, okay. I mean, you're saying I guess we would have to take a look at I would wanna see how you would wanna measure it. If you're gonna say passing yards, I think there were a fair amount of quarterbacks that threw for more yards than JJ McCarthy
Well,
last year.
absolutely. And they threw the ball a lot more.
Right, but, but you could also take how many more quarterbacks have better QBRs, completion percentages, threw for more touchdowns, you know, touchdown to interception ratio. I think of some of those quarterbacks in the Pacific Conference had big years. Like Penix had I think a better year statistically. Bo Nix, I thought, had a better year statistically. Did Dorian Thompson-Robinson, would you say he had a better year statistically at
Sure. I
UCLA?
wasn't just rating quarterbacks, I was rating the whole passing offense, but it starts with the quarterback. Sure. I would say that the Big Ten defenses are better than the Pac-12 defenses, so that has to be taken into consideration. Michigan, in terms of pass efficiency last year, was 23rd in the country,
Okay.
and that's including schools like App State, Ohio, in front of them, UTSA, which we know are not better passing offenses. They just played inferior competition. Coastal Carolina. Air Force had a better passing efficiency than they were 8th in the country in pass efficiency. Air Force.
Does it state where McCarthy's QBR was last year?
I'd have to go to some QBR. I don't have QBR
Or
here.
even his just general quarterback rating was last year compared to Division 1A quarterbacks or
Well, this
Power
is pretty
5?
much this is pretty much it right here.
Or you just want to compare
If
him to
he,
the
if
other
he,
Power
if he's
5
20, if
quarterbacks
he's
out
20,
there?
if the Michigan passing attack is 23rd in the country in pass rating, then that's basically JJ McCarthy.
Okay.
But I'm kicking Air Force and Coastal Carolina and Ohio and UTSA. I'm kicking them out. and maybe a few others to say James Madison. I'm saying that Michigan, this is my confirmation, at least the way I see it, that Michigan had roughly a top 15 to 20 passing attack in the country last year.
Okay. I mean, as I said, I thought he threw the ball better later in the year than he did early in the year. I mean, I thought for most of the year, like their big win over Penn State wasn't because of him. I mean, they ran the ball, down Penn State's throat. That's why they won that game. I mean, I'm thinking of some of their bigger wins early in the year against Michigan State. He had a fairly pedestrian game. I watched that game. He didn't do much. You know.
You're right. I'm not disagreeing with you, except for the point that I can't find many passing attacks in America that are clearly better.
Okay. All right. I
But
mean,
I'm agreeing with everything else, and I'm certainly agreeing with where I think the debate started, and that's that Jaden Davis chose a program that has not developed NFL quarterbacks against a program that has developed NFL quarterbacks.
right. Right, and as I said, maybe he just shows it based off the success they had the last 2 years, and that's why he chose to go there. And, for them having their success, that helps them in recruiting. To a great degree, I understand that. But also, we've always talked about recruiting being, one of the major factors being players being able to get developed to go to the next level too.
And it's
Uh,
also one of the major reasons why. Where was I going with this? Shoot, I lost my train of thought. I was ready to follow up on whatever my next point was, and it's gone. It's gone.
no, that's okay. I was going to say Ohio State is close to landing a quarterback. Noland is his name. They're in recruiting. Eighth rated quarterback, I believe, according to what I saw on 24/7.
Air Noland, you
Aaron
mean?
Noland, yes, Aaron Noland.
We did a
Uh,
breakdown on him on the Miami channel because
yeah.
that's what
So I
he.
mean,
Yeah.
it could be a real good. By the way, I know you had a conversation with Nebraska. Is there still talks that former Ohio State commit Dylan Riola might be going to Nebraska, or is that no longer the case?
Oh, sure, he's in the mix. Absolutely, he's going to be at the Nebraska spring game
Oh, really?
in a couple of weeks. Yes.
See, the only thing I gathered from that recruitment is that Rayola has, I think, a family member that's coaching at Nebraska. If I'm
And
not
his dad played there, or his uncle played there. Yes, and he's got a family member who coaches the offensive line.
right. I mean, because okay, back to developing to the NFL. I mean, I know Matt Rule had success there at Temple and then at Baylor, but as far as the quarterback position, you know,
Oh, there's no question. If
yeah,
you're Dylan Rayola and he's got it down to Georgia, USC, and Nebraska,
right,
one does not belong.
sure,
One clearly does
yeah,
not belong. Now,
yeah,
not that Georgia's been a quarterback factory, but we know
sure,
that they have their certain enticements
yeah,
if you want to compete for a national championship. But to compare, yeah, everything that Nebraska's got going for it is all legacy. They've got two family members who are prominent members of Nebraska legacy, and Dylan Rayola is obviously weighing that. It's not as though he's a high school talent from Nebraska. He's in Arizona.
hmm
So it's got to be all about legacy versus going to somewhere, and it's almost like your Ohio State Michigan comparison. Or do you go to USC where I'm playing for a head coach that is proven to be a developer of NFL quarterbacks?
See, that I completely get. I mean, obviously, Lincoln Riley's track record with developing quarterbacks totally makes sense. I mean, obviously Oklahoma, and then last year with Caleb Williams, and the year that he had and winning the Heisman, and all that went with that. I mean, I completely understand that. I mean, the Nebraska thing, I guess, just having a family member was the only enticement that I saw as far as that goes. Not that, I mean, I think Matt Rule's a good coach, but I mean, what was also Matt Rule's, track record with the quarterback position at Temple and Baylor? I don't remember it being extremely strong. Right.
No, he produced no one
Right.
at the quarterback position. His best quarterback was probably Charlie Brewer, who flamed out at Utah and
Mm,
disappeared. Um, yeah, he's taking a pretty major risk. I got to think that the only reason Nebraska's got a shot at this is that Scott Frost is no longer the coach. Now, Matt Rule can at least sell on hope. He can at
Sure.
least sell hope and not say, yeah, I'm a million games under 500. We've been awful for 5 years, but we're suddenly going to turn it around. He can sell what he did at Temple. He can sell at Baylor. But to your point, for these players that are, and you can't blame them, want to have proof of NFL development, that's a tough sell for Matt Rule too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, I guess, I mean, Frost did recruit pretty well there and was able to get talented players to come there. I mean, I think he was recruiting at a basically top 15, top 20 level, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of his classes while he was there, correct?
At Baylor?
No, Frost's last couple years at
Oh, Frost
Nebraska.
at Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were nothing wrong with his recruiting classes
Yeah.
compared to what his competition is in the Big Ten Western Division.
Right. Well, and I think Rule can pick up on that. That's kind of where I was going on that too, Mark, is that he should be able to pick up on that, at least be able to bring talent in on that level, if not maybe a little bit higher. But that's going to be interesting to see coming this season and how that works out. Anything else you're eyeing this spring, or any spring game that you find to be most interesting in the Big Ten?
I just want to see well-produced shows that provide a lot of information on these teams. I'm not going to see anything during any of these spring games that's going to make me think anything differently about these teams. I just can't imagine that I will.
Yeah, I would say from the Ohio State perspective, just to go there, because obviously that's the team I follow, is that um, the biggest thing, I mean, obviously everybody wants to see what Kyle McCord looks like, and the quarterback situation in general looks like at Ohio State, uh, you know, come this spring, and how well they throw the ball after, with CJ Stroud now being gone. For me, I think that the big thing is I want to see how this offensive line looks from an Ohio State perspective. I will chime in with that. I think losing the three offensive linemen off last year's team, particularly the two tackles, which I think were as good a pair of tackles as were out there last year, and they're going to prove it with the draft. I mean, Paris Johnson's going to be a top 10 to 15 pick, and DeJuan Jones may go in the end of the first round, somewhere in the second. So, worst case. So, and I also think that Whippler, who I was a little surprised left early, going to be a third round pick maybe. But yeah, I mean, replacing those three offensive linemen is going to be really interesting this year, and the biggest thing I'm going to be watching from an Ohio State perspective. I don't know if you have some thoughts on that. I know you probably talked about this a little bit on Buckeye Talk.
I've always thought that in a spring game, the most validated portion of the game, the most validated matchup in trying to determine what's meaningful, are wide receivers against defensive backs. Because it's just like a game. There's really no difference between the spring game and a regular season game. You have a wide receiver lining up against the corner, and they're going one-on-one. And there's really nothing involved with the scheme or the effort level that you could kind of gauge, okay, offensive line, defensive line, who's playing better here. And again, regardless of how vanilla the offense is or the defense, they're matching up one-on-one. So who's winning those battles? That should be pretty much who would win the battles. Now, unfortunately, we've got a set of Ohio State cornerbacks that we want to see improve significantly. And we've got the Ole Miss player jumping in to the fray, but they're not going to be having to lock in on Marvin Harrison and Emeka Ibuka and Julian Fleming. They're all sitting. So if they can't cover the next wave of guys, then that's not going to be too good of a look.
Well, I've heard good things about the Ole Miss transfer corner that's come in, just from some of the reports. I am interested to see what Denzel Burke does this year. He had a very, very off season last year. I agree with you. I think cornerback, especially with how disappointing it was last year, and I talked about it every time I was on the show with you, it's going to be interesting to see if they can do an about face there. Just with the sheer amount of big plays that they gave up a year ago and how much better they can be. So, But offensive line is the one thing for me. That's the biggest key, just replacing those offensive tackles. And, they weren't helped by the previous offensive line coach's recruiting. I think he had some misses that hurt their depth there. But replacing Johnson and Jones is going to be tough.
I am hopeful that Jack Sawyer is going to have a big year and that he's going to be freed up by the scheme, and
Yeah.
that they're not going to tie him up to try to set an edge all the time and be that Jack up front, that they're going to cut him loose and let him go.
Yeah, I think he's probably more comfortable with playing edge, traditional edge. I think him and JTT will have good years this year. I'm confident that their D line and their linebackers will be at least as good or better than they were a year ago. So, and I actually think they're going to be better than they were a year, particularly the defensive line. I think the linebackers will be as good, maybe even a little bit better. It just comes back to how improved those corners were, like you were talking about, on how much better the defense can be a year than it was last year. So, things to watch come spring. April 15th, Mark.
That's
I hope
it. April
I
15th.
I hope you're there.
I will be there. I will be there in spirit, and we'll be watching.
Okay.
I will be watching. Yes.
Always good to talk to you, my friend.
Good to see you, David. Have a good day.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
All right, talking Buckeyes to begin our Big Ten live show here at the Voice of College Football. Please keep in mind that we've got both Patreon and Discord available to you. To go to patreon.com, search MarkRogersTV, and sign up right there. And then we also have YouTube memberships right here at the Voice of College Football, and check those out. So we took great care in making sure that we were not taking anything away, but we were only adding to everyone's experience here at the Voice of College Football. So again, we've got the Discord available on Patreon, and you can sign up there. And then there are different tiers and different benefits to those tiers. And as soon as we get people signing up on those tiers, we will be delivering what's promised there. Also on the YouTube memberships, the same deal. And the Discord comes along with those second and third tiers here on the YouTube membership. So we appreciate everyone that signed up, and we will certainly continue to shout out everyone's names and appreciate their participation and contributions here at the Voice of College Football. So whether it's YouTube memberships or Patreon, please join us. All right, let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. We've got Nick Snow joining us, talking up some Badgers football. Nick,
I am
today.
Good, Mark. How are you? It's good to be back. I think the last time I was on here, you asked me how sure I was that Jim Leonhard was going to be the next head coach of Wisconsin, and I said there was absolutely no way he wasn't going to be. And I think it was like 3 weeks later, the Luke Fickell hire was made. So a lot has changed in Madison, but I'm kind of excited to talk about it. And I love where the Wisconsin helmet's positioned behind you there. It's front and center. I love that.
Well, in fact, we will make some arrangements. I appreciate that. We do have Nebraska sitting here. We can do that for you.
Yeah, have they earned that spot up there? I mean,
no, they've not earned anything. They have not earned even being in the room. We should have them like in the bathroom somewhere. Maybe I'll put them on the toilet.
Hey, I'm excited to see what Matt Rule does at Nebraska. I hope that originally Wisconsin Nebraska was supposed to be a pretty big rivalry, and it just hasn't gone that way, whether it's coaching or just the adjustment to the Big Ten. And I'm just interested in the two directions they're now going. But yeah, I'm here to talk Wisconsin, not Nebraska. So
yeah, absolutely, Nick. So before we go directly to the here and now and spring practice and all those good things, I want to take us back to what you alluded to off the top, because I certainly have my theories about what the brain trust mindset was, firing Paul Chryst, elevating Jim Leonhard, and then finally making the move to Luke Fickell. And we're never going to know completely, but we can certainly take bits and pieces and try to add it up and come to some kind of conclusion, which mine would be that Paul Chryst did a fine job at Wisconsin. He certainly did not earn what you would consider to be a fireable resume But I think with a lot of other conditions in play, USC, UCLA joining the Big Ten, different landscape, that the hierarchy was seeing that Jim Leonard had been around a long time and wanted to give him and just wanted to see this as an opportunity that we can upgrade and we can compete, and we can't just stay put and compete at the level that we want to. So we got Jim Leonard here. We don't want to lose him. Let's elevate him. Let's see what he does for the remainder of the season. So this is his audition. And I don't think he graded an A+ on the audition, but he didn't flunk the audition. They played better, made a bowl game, won a bowl game, all those things. We know what happened. But at some point during the course of all this, Luke Fickell became somebody on their radar, and they went after him. And whether they just deemed Jim Leonard didn't cut to the standard that they were looking for that remaining, whatever it was, 9 or 10 games, or that Luke Fickell just became available, or that they could go get him. Do you have any sense as to how that timeline might have played out, or what the thought process was?
I mean, I'm kind of with you. I think Jim Leonard was going to be the guy, and Luke Fickell and Chris McIntosh just hit it off when they met. And I think they had known each other from their playing days. McIntosh was an offensive lineman, and for anyone who doesn't know, Chris McIntosh is the athletic director at Wisconsin, but he was a lineman. Well, Luke Fickell was, on the D line at Ohio State. And I guess the story goes that they played each other a couple times, and so they knew who each other were. But I guess they just hit it off, and essentially that is where, Jim Leonard, it came down to Luke Fickell, who has experience, who's taken a team to the college football playoff, has recruited really well at the AAC level, at in that conference. He was he had the best classes, and Wisconsin was lagging in the recruiting department. And given what Jim Leonard was just as an unknown and what he would be, they went with the guy who they thought they, had the proven record. And so I don't think it was necessarily that Jim Leonard, like you said, he didn't fail the audition. He just happened to be, the other guy left at the altar, because Luke Fickell had the track record. And I'll tell you what, the excitement that his presence has brought to the Wisconsin program is something that hasn't been seen in a long time, if ever. It's just his energy, his availability to the media, everything has changed under him, and the excitement is crazy. You might actually see some Wisconsin fans start showing up on your shows because they're all searching for more and more content. It's a wild time in Madison.
Good. Nick Snow here from Buckeyes Fifth Quarter. You can join him and the rest of the crew there on SB Nation. Again, it's Buckeyes Fifth Quarter. We appreciate Nick stopping by. So I'm going to play off of what you just said here about Luke Fickell and how he has already had an impact before he's won a game at Wisconsin, because I don't think Barry Alvarez across the college football landscape gets the credit that he deserves for the renaissance at Wisconsin. People at Wisconsin know, and really big time college football fans like ourselves understand what Barry Alvarez did. He took a just mostly dormant program for decades. They had their few little bright spots, Garden State Bowl kind of seasons, but he lifted them to a Big Ten championship caliber program within 3 or 4 years, and he maintained that. And then he handed it off to Brett Bielema, Gary Anderson, Paul Christ, who all had Wisconsin backgrounds and ties. So they all kind of stayed in that Barry Alvarez mold. And now to turn it over to Luke Fickell, there's been a lot of trust given to Luke Fickell to say, hey, we still want to be who we are. We still have this identity as Wisconsin, but we know it's time for an upgrade. It's time for an update. And we're going to trust Luke Fickell to do a lot of things differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, he's come in, he's completely changing what the Badgers have always been on offense, which is maybe the most exciting part for Badger fans. I don't know how much the defense is going to look different. Traditionally, Mike Tressel has run that 3-3-5 look. But I believe it's going to be more of a mix between the Jim Leonard 3-4-4 and the Mike Tressel 3-5 or 3-3-5. It's going to be some kind of combination of that. And but on the offensive side of the ball, you hire Phil Longo, and there could not be anyone more polar opposite to what Paul Chryst ran on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, we're talking about going from the power football to the spread offense, and what people are now have nicknamed the dairy raid, because that is what we're expecting now.
They hadn't heard that. I like that. The dairy raid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Phil Longo hasn't, he has said that the Badgers are still going to be running the ball 50% of the time. And that's the bread and butter. They need to be effective. And Fickle said just as much the other day, they're 4 spring practices in, but in order for Wisconsin to win games, they have to be effective running the ball. Otherwise they're not going to win games. So you're not going to see Wisconsin go to an offense where they're literally going to be throwing it 80% of the time. This will still be a balanced offense, but the idea is that if you get the athletes on the outside, you won't see as many 8-man boxes. Braylon Allen won't see as many 8-man boxes as he goes up the gut, and maybe a little bit more spread out defense will allow for him to stay healthy and for, some other guys to come into the program and make their stamp on it. So they brought in Tanner Mordecai, the SMU transfer, who should be an upgrade over what Graham Mertz had been at Wisconsin. They also upgraded the entire quarterback room, from top to bottom. They brought in 2 other transfers, Nick Evers from Oklahoma, former 4-star, and then Braden Locke from Mississippi State, former 4-star. So they completely upgraded the quarterback room. So they had the arm talent. Now they also added some wide receiver talent. CJ Williams from USC, who you might be familiar with, former 5-star, who, just for reference to all the Big Ten fans here, Wisconsin has never had a 5-star wide receiver come anywhere near Madison except for on other teams. So it's crazy times, and Badger fans are just anxious to see if the ball is going to be thrown downfield and if we're actually going to be able to put up more than, 25 points a game. Just throwing that number out there because I know that's a good benchmark. So
Iowa thinks it's a good benchmark. But maybe it is for them. That would be an offensive.
That's what I was referring to. I was letting Iowa fans know.
Big at the Hawkeyes, of course. Yeah, that would be an offensive renaissance for them to achieve that. And we know that probably they will achieve it, but about 8 points of each of those point totals, each game is going to come from the defense. I'm intrigued about Wisconsin making the boldest of the moves from a coaching standpoint and from an offensive scheme standpoint with what's going to happen in the Big Ten starting next year with USC and UCLA coming in and no longer having a bit of a cushion in the Big Ten West to say, hey, if we can go 8-4, 9-3, we're in it all the way. And then there's an expanded playoff to take advantage of. You don't have to win the Big Ten going forward. And Wisconsin very much looks like they're going for it in terms of, hey, we want to be a Big Ten champion. We want to go to the playoff. We see there's an opportunity with 12 teams in the playoff that we can do this on a fairly regular basis. And why not I thought it was the best coaching hire of the offseason. And it positions Wisconsin not in a great place because it's still going to be very tough, but at least gives them a lot of hope and optimism that they can be a player going forward.
Yeah. And I think at the cornerstone of what Fickle was at Cincinnati was being a developmental program. I don't think Wisconsin's ever going to get the blue chip 5-star players unless they're an offensive lineman. They're probably, for the most part, Wisconsin's going to be a program that brings in players and develops them. And that's what Luke Fickle's brand was at Cincinnati. I mean, Sauce Gardner was a 2-star recruit when he came in. Now the goal is to bring in these maybe even better athletes to Wisconsin and try to build them up even more. And I think as time goes on, we'll see what Fickle's able to build. A lot of these guys on this current roster are still obviously Chryst recruits. It's still a talented team. The offensive line is as deep as it's ever been at Wisconsin. And I mean, they're running a new offense, so we'll see how those players fit into it, but it's still exciting on that side of the ball. And the Wisconsin defense hopefully won't go too far off brand because it's been the bread and butter for the team for the past 10 years. And if it can, ever since Dave Aranda really was the DC there. So if they can maintain the success on the defensive side of the ball and elevate the offensive side of the ball, they should be competitive. They should be able to beat, anyone in the Big Ten West, but they should be able to go toe to toe with the Penn State, with the Michigan, with an Ohio State at some point. Now, I'm not going out here saying they're going to beat those teams, but last year at Ohio State, the game was over before it started, and Wisconsin fans were, they were 4 years ago, one touchdown away from beating Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. Wisconsin wants to get back to that and then see what they can do moving forward with an expanded playoff. And I think Wisconsin should be right on the edge of that.
Yeah, to see Wisconsin struggle in the passing game is no new thing, but to see them go to Columbus and see a very proud defense just get shredded and not be able to keep up. Yeah, it was disconcerting. You don't see that out of Wisconsin. But to go back to one of your last points, and it's a good one, that there's a lot of excitement across the nation for people that aren't even Wisconsin fans, but just, hey, this should be exciting to watch. New offense, Luke Ficklen, all that. But it's, let's understand that Wisconsin has been as good as they've been because they routinely field top 5 defenses in the country with Jim Leonard on a regular basis, and that just can't be taken for granted. So
no, and I completely agree. It's, the story is the offense this right now, but the real story come August and come September is going to be whether or not this defense is up to task of where it's been the past couple of years. Now, last year, it wasn't it wasn't where it was 2 years ago. That was one of the best defenses that Wisconsin has ever had. But if they can continually perform, in the top 10 defensively, and just have more offensive success, not turning the ball over at inopportune times like they have been with Graham Mertz at quarterback, I could see the program really taking a step this year. And I won't say much about what 2024 might look like, because at that point you're going with a quarterback who has no starting experience more than likely, and a team that's could lose quite a few guys to the NFL. But that'll be Fickle's real first year. But this first year, I think there's hope and optimism that this could be a year where Wisconsin makes it back to the Big Ten title game.
And with the transfer portal, we no longer can project and say, oh, well, this quarterback's for this year, and then the next one for the next 2 years. And, all that's out the door. That's like a million miles away, to 2024. Nick, before we let you go, we want to encourage everyone to step on over to Buckeyes Fifth Quarter on SB Nation and check out Nick's work there. With this scheduling format to be announced at some point in the spring or summer, going to the Big Ten 2024 and beyond, it's probable that they go to a 3-6-6 format with 3 permanent opponents for each team. So who would be your choices, or who do you think will be the choices for Wisconsin?
I think it's pretty easy to say that it's going to be Minnesota and Iowa, no matter what the format is. I can't see a scenario where they don't play Minnesota or Iowa every year. The third one, I think it's kind of up for debate. For the longest time, again, I spoke about it a little earlier, but it was supposed to be Nebraska. I don't know how bad Wisconsin fans really care to play Nebraska every year. You could throw out Northwestern as a potential rival, but Northwestern doesn't really get the juices flowing for any team. I would be excited personally if it was a USC or a UCLA. As a fan, I think that would be the most intriguing one. I would love to see USC come up and play in November in Camp Randall. That would be intriguing to me. And vice versa, there would be a ton of Wisconsin fans who would go to LA as an annual trip and to go represent the Badgers in the warm weather. There will be no problem with them traveling. So I personally would like to see it be, one of the new schools coming in. It makes sense kind of geographically, although maybe nothing makes sense geographically anymore. I just don't see any of the East teams really being appealing. Although if you're going to pick one, maybe Michigan or Ohio State. I think the Badgers need to have need to have the idea that they can compete with those blue bloods over there, though. I can't see a realm where you want to play a Nebraska, or no offense, Nebraska fans, or a Northwestern right now. I think you want to be going toe to toe and getting the eyes on the brand of Wisconsin football, and especially this new brand.
And of course, Wisconsin knocked off USC in the Holiday Bowl about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And they've got those double wins against UCLA back in the 90s in the Rose Bowl.
3-sack Jack City,
Yes.
3 sacks in a row. One of the cooler moments for Badger fans to see a player who was really, really good for Wisconsin for a number of years just burst onto the scene, really.
I do remember that. Yes,
Yep.
Absolutely. Good stuff. All right. One more time. It's Nick Snow, Buckeyes fifth quarter. Get on over there. Check out Wisconsin Football Talk right there.
Thanks,
Nick,
everyone.
appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I hopefully I can hop on in here in a couple weeks and represent Wisconsin a little bit more on your show.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Good talk there from Nick Snow once again on Buckeyes fifth quarter on SB Nation. Let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. We got Alex stepping in. Alex, what's going on?
Hey, Mark. How are you?
I am doing well. What's up?
So Dallin and Chip did amazing, according to me, in the scrimmage. And as usual, it seems whether it was I think your last caller, the guy before then was talking about the recruit from Texas. To me, it's all just one big thing of what do you call it? Trevion and mine-itis, where people are so hyper focused still on those two guys. And Dallin and Chip were amazing in a scrimmage, not even like, the spring game. So I really feel like the heat's got to be turned up for Buckeye fans on these two guys, even mind-blowingly, because I know they're always very protective of more recent players than newer players. What do you call it? Buckeye Huddle. Tom was even saying, wow to Dallin and wow to Chip. It's significant. These guys are such good backs, and it's just a league-wide goodness. There's such good backs, period. Sorry to just take control of this, Mark. They're so good, Mark, and it's like I just feel like, why is the world not going crazy for these two guys? And still even bringing up Trevion and Mayan, and even looking at Mayan and in the scrimmage, it's like, what is he doing there? Like, what are his steps? What are his abilities? And you just don't see it. Like, Chip is amazing. Dallin is incredible. And it's just like, we have our backs. And now that we have the two guards that are phenomenal now, Donovan and Matt, it's like we're ready. We have Krinsman, or not Krinsman, the center we have now. He's enormous. Like, we're ready for this running game, and we've got great backs. And it's like, we should be talking about these guys. And me, last time we spoke, I stumped for them. I just feel like Buckeye Nation's got to be going crazy for Dallin, Aiden, and Chip Trainum massively. And the more talk we do, maybe Day will be influenced, because without these guys, I don't know what's going to happen with the throw game. But please jump in. I took control of this. Sorry about that.
Well, that's quite all right. That's why I can talk anytime. This is your time to talk. So you're done with Mayan Williams and Trevion Henderson. You're just completely done with them.
I guess so. Yeah, I am, my friend. I really am. I just feel like Trevion is a typical receiver. He's a receiver, and I know everyone likes him. He's just a receiver. It's not his foot. He's a receiver. He cannot hit people. He can't juke. He's just not a running back. He's a receiver. And Mine is a nice guy, and he's great at those goal line stands, and he's probably one of the best at the goal line stands, going straight 2 yards straight and smacking you. But Chip is also really good at that too. It's just I don't those guys are not, before all the running backs we have now. Yes. Throw Evan in there for good measure. Those were our backs. But now with these guys, we have a shot. And obviously, as a Buckeye, I'm pining for some winning here. I know we slept for the last half of last season, but I'm just pining for some greatness. Like, Michigan's got Blake, and it's like, what about us? Like, where's our Zeke? Where's our, what's his name? Number 2. a couple years
Okay,
ago.
Bobby.
Right. Where's our Zeke? Where's our guy that just blows people's minds? Like, oh no, we better not play them. Like I want that. I know Marvin's great and stuff, and our receivers are good, but I know we've got two backs that'll just blow everyone's minds away. I just feel like, come on, guys. Like Buckeye Nation's got to get behind these guys. They've got it. People have got to start talking about Dallin. Got to start talking about Chip. They're just going to take us somewhere. They're going to take us somewhere. And with the guards we have, forget it. We've got a running game. I was seeing how easy Devin was just flying through with runs right up the middle. I was like, wow. I was like, we've got a running game going on, because of our guards,
Yeah, there's plenty of talent
that's my
there.
whole thing. Just stump the running backs. I have nothing else to say. Our defense was good. They could be bad next scrimmage or next game. They were good. I don't see really a holistic problem with Ohio State as of right now. I don't see it. I think everything's going to be kind of worked out in time. Even the new OC, even though he's a receivers coach, I think we're going to be worked out. It's just that we've got two stars bona fide, and we have got to be talking about these two guys. Like, it's just mind blowing that we're not. Like, I just don't hear it. And people are like, well, so you hear about that recruit from Texas? I'm like, recruit from Texas? Hold on. Dallin, Chip, have you seen these guys play? Like, we've got stars. Like, oh my gosh. Anyways, so that's my thing. Like, I just wish we were going crazy for these two guys, because I would pray that one day Dave would wake up and go, I've been hearing a lot of chatter about our two running backs, and do it because of that at least, like, oh my God, I know they'll be better than Blake. I'm saying it here. I'm saying it. Absolutely. They're better than Blake. Yes. 100%.
Okay. Well, first off, I'm going to say if Ryan Day is listening to shows like this and making coaching moves based on what he hears from us, then there should be concern.
You're right.
The next thing is,
right.
I think you should just rest easy that if Ryan Day is the right guy and if he's making the right decisions, then regardless of who's talking about what, then he's seeing this on the practice field every day, and he's going to play the right guy.
There's no doubt. I'm not one of those Day haters. Ryan's an amazing coach. It's not even I'm listening. Go ahead.
So on one hand, I'm going to trust his talent evaluation skills to play the right guys. I do, and we will probably never know, do wonder why Dallin Hayden did not play against Michigan. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, your love of Chip Tranum, and I thought he did a remarkable job against Michigan, considering he hadn't played the whole season, and suddenly in the biggest game on the planet, they're handing him the ball and he's making plays. But I don't know that you should be going too overboard about Chip Tranum and his abilities at running back.
Did you see any of the scrimmage on Saturday?
I did not.
Oh, go check it out. You'll see what he's doing just even the scrimmage. Like, mark my words, I'm going to be the annoying caller that's going to stump for these two guys nonstop, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say for the next, umpteen amount of months, like forever. I just know that's our future. As soon as we get on board with these guys and Days behind them, like, forget it. Like, we've got such a team. Like, I don't care that the defense is good or bad or whatever at this point. Like, with those two backs, like, they're so good. And I know it makes it for a boring call, but that's my whole call, is just these two guys.
What's going to make it interesting, Alex, is once we get into the season to see if Ryan Day is taking your advice and whether that's paying off for him.
Yeah, I know he's a brilliant guy. I know what you're saying, that he'll make the best choices. And actually, I'm behind you on that. I think Day's a phenomenal coach. So, I mean, I know. I feel like it's just a little bit of blindness right now from him. And then Buckeye Nation is totally asleep about these two guys. But yeah, Day's, there's something going on, especially with like you said, with the Michigan game, why he didn't play. It's like, what was going on there? And they said something about the dropping the ball thing, and then later recanted that. I'm like, okay, what's really going on? And and then he gets so crazy for Travion when he talks about it. I'm like, why? What is the deal with that? Like, so like, and Travion, so I'm like, dude, he's not as good as Dallin and Chip. But anyways, whatever. I mean, I've seen everyone play. It's like, it's not like I'm just saying this because I like these guys. Sure. Like, I've watched them.
So based on what you've seen, you think Chip Tranum is a better running back than Travion Henderson?
absolutely better. Mark my words. He had the numbers that Trevian had the numbers. Absolutely. I believe that's the offensive line. I believe he just played defenses that left him gaping holes. And when you see Chip play for Arizona State in high school and in the scrimmages and the practices, and like you said in Michigan, I'm telling you, just whether you play the game or not, you can just tell the way he runs. Like he either wants to go a million miles an hour or smack you in the face. And that's such a dangerous. I mean, Trevian is really fast. So is Marvin Harrison. I mean, just make him a receiver or a flanker. They don't exist anymore, but just make him a receiver. He's a receiver. He does not hit people. He's scared of hitting people. He gets worried, and it's like that's your job. That's your job. And Chip is great. Chip is he's so scary. He's awesome. Like I remember those kind of backs. When I was younger, just so willing to hurt somebody. Like a Zach Boring kind of. Even though he's a fullback, just want to hurt someone. I love that. That's what a running back is. And Dallin was giving major wood to Kai Stokes a few times, smacking him. I was like, oh wow! We've got real running backs. That's what a running back is: violent and strong and fast and avoiding people and just great. We've got running backs. We do. And Trevian's a nice guy, but he's not a back. He's just not. And Lyon's not as good. I know. And then maybe heresy to anybody on this planet, but mark my words, Mark. If they're played, people are going to go, I didn't know. Mark my words. I know you're looking at stats and you're going to find the stats of Trevian hasn't.
I don't want to trip you up. I just want to look at Trevian Henderson against good teams the last 2 years. Now we know that he had this ridiculous game against Tulsa 2 years ago, and that was a remarkable game and everything. But Tulsa's Tulsa, so yeah, he almost set an Ohio State rushing record against Tulsa, but that means not much of anything. Maryland's 16 carries for 102.
Trevian had such space in those games when he racked up all those yards. There was such space. It was like everybody just moved out of the way. Just let him run, please. He just had such space, Mark. That's not a back. I'm sorry. Running backs have to find and make space. And we've got two guys who are willing to do it. They're great. And I'm like, wow, I'm honored now to be, it's amazing to see these guys play now. It's like, wow, we have two amazing guys. And TC, I'm telling you, he's about that close to those other guys. TC's that good too, TC Caffey. I'm telling you, we've got three amazing backs on our team. We do. And there's something about Day when it comes to these guys that have been around and maybe they're not doing so good and they're not so good. He's like, oh, I'm your friend. I love you. And it's like, Day, come on, man. He's really protective and caring towards some guys that aren't doing so well. And it's like, oh my God, please don't be nice now. Please, please be a vicious leader. Anyways, but back to you. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Well, coaches tend to be conservative by nature. And so they tend to go with the guys that are proven, and they tend to go with. So if they truly believe what they recruited is in line with what the recruiting rankings are, then if you come in as a 5-star, you're going to be given every opportunity to fail.
Wow, you're so right. Yeah, and that's the ethic there at Ohio State. I don't think it's as strong with other schools. What do you think? You think it's the same?
Well, that would involve some big elaborate breakdown, but I think it's pretty much the same.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would just, I don't know. Talent has to wait. I get it, but it's just like, wow. Honestly, if we didn't have these two backs and maybe even TC as well, 3 backs, I don't know if I'd be calling. I think we'd be okay. I think, we'd be Ohio State and doing what we do, and who knows, maybe make it to a semifinal again, and who knows, maybe a national championship. We were that close this time. So but I'm just blown away by these guys, and I just want the nation of Buckeye Nation to realize we've got amazing backs.
Well, Alex, I appreciate your enthusiasm. I also appreciate that you've got a different take on this. I do think that Dallin Hayden showed at least me enough against Maryland to warrant I want to see more of him. And again, I think the other two backs had amazing seasons the year before. They both got nicked up and hurt. So there are certain positions that can take on certain injuries.
Which backs got nicked?
Mayan Williams and Trevian Henderson.
Right. Yeah. And sorry, you were saying, so they got hurt and nicked
I'm
up.
basically saying that there are certain positions that you can take on an injury and still be fairly effective. You know, there are offensive linemen that can take on maybe a hand injury, or there's certain, not that it makes it easy on them. It's still difficult to play with any injury, but if you're a running back and you get a sprained foot, then that's going to compromise your cutting ability immensely.
Fair, but let's look at him that year when he was given a lot of space. Like, okay, I guess one could easily say, okay, what if he wasn't given space? Maybe he performed just as well. I did see him a few times last year before the injury, and it just seemed like he was. I mean, my take. I think I'm one of those bad callers because I don't have the data. I don't have an open enough mind, probably as you do, and I go from experience having played football and just knowing instinctually in a second, and just knowing that Trevion's scared. He's scared. And these guys, Chip just wants to hurt people. And then Dallin's like, I think I'll do anything. Yeah, I'll do anything. It's like those two.
Game, yeah, Travion Henderson is can't be put into the bucket of most physical back. No, he is not that guy. You're right.
And that may be a great statement in and of itself. Do you have to be that physical as a back? But maybe that's what it comes down to, is this caller, this guy likes the physical back. Maybe that's what it's about. Wow. Man, you're good. You should be a therapist. Anyways, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. No. Maybe I won't call as much anymore. I'll be like, well, maybe he'll score touchdowns anyways, Travion will, and he won't have hit anybody, and I'll have to get over it. Maybe that's what it's about. Just hitting for me. It's just about hitting. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. The truth, the future will, obviously, as Tom says, we've got 287 days until, the game. So we shall see what happens.
Being a guy, Alex, that wants to see physical play, I would think that Mayan Williams would be your guy.
After seeing these two guys, no. Because as much as I like those 2-yard bursts and smacking to someone kind of thing, I don't think he has nearly the running back ability as Dallin, and Chip is way better at scaring it with a hit. So, okay. Yeah.
Okay, Alex.
So, but yeah, I do like Mine. He's a good guy, but not as good as these guys. But go ahead. Sorry.
I appreciate you calling in, Alex.
Of course.
Call back anytime.
All right, man. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Talk soon, man.
Appreciate it. All right. Yeah, it's a loaded running back room. And for as good as the Michigan backs are at the top with the top two, and they are proven, they are more proven than any of the Ohio State backs, I do believe that the Buckeyes have the best running back room. 1 through 5, 6. I do think Ohio State is the best running back room. The problem is you don't play 6 running backs or 5 or 4. You play 2, maybe 3. That's where Michigan ran into an issue last season, because at the beginning of the year, Donovan Edwards was hurt. Therefore, they needed to give Blake Corum a blow from time to time, and they didn't have anyone that proved much. Then when it was reversed and Blake Corum got hurt and was not serviceable once we hit the second half of the Illinois game onward, then it was all Donovan Edwards, and there was not a second back for him. And we saw those guys on display, Dunlap and Stokes and Mullings and all those Michigan guys we saw on display during the spring game on Saturday, to see if they can find. They are desperately looking for that 3 back at Michigan, because that number 3 back often has to be the number 2 back when somebody else gets nicked up. All right, folks, we are here, meaning me personally, until the 8 o'clock hour. Then we've got John D'Adamo jumping on board to take you home starting at 8 o'clock Eastern time, right here at the Voice of College Football on our Big Ten Live show, the Big Ten Live show right here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link in the description section, please. All you have to do is grab that, put it somewhere where you will remember it, because I know what the deal is. Many of you have every intent to use the Amazon link, but It's going to be 4 days from now, and you are going to go to Amazon like you always do. But please grab the link and put it somewhere where you will remember it. It helps us grow the channel. And it's the same shopping experience for you, so you might as well just use it. And it helps us immensely. YouTube memberships, give them a look. If you have any questions, please hit me up. If you have any questions about anything, I'm at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Patreon, Discord as well. And again, we have strategized that. Understand that we already had Patreon revved up with about 71 members there. And then we determined to go forward with the YouTube memberships. And I was strategic in making sure that nobody was missing out to say, okay, Mark, I signed up here at the YouTube membership, but if I would have gone to Patreon, it's going to cost $2 more here, and I don't get this. And so I weighed all that out to make sure, okay, nobody's getting a bad deal. Nobody's getting a bad situation. You get what you get that is parallel and makes sense with the other platform. So again, YouTube memberships right here, and the Patreon, and for tiers 2 and 3 on the YouTube membership, and also on all the Patreon memberships, you get the Discord, which is college football talk 24/7, 365 with the knuckleheads. Spring games are coming up this Saturday, Auburn and NC State in particular. We will announce our schedule, which could be probably not a watch party. I believe that Auburn and NC State are on the SEC Network Plus and the ACC Network Plus. So I will have my eyes on them, and probably will do a call-in show at some point in the day on Saturday to talk spring football games, again, with a number of teams in action, most notably NC State and Auburn. Also Vandy, don't want to leave them out. Vandy on Saturday. I have been working feverishly on program rankings. We're going to do that for 2023. Program rankings to be released here in the next few days. What we're going to do is I will present my program rankings 1 through, what are we up to now? 133? 1 through 133. And then I will let you digest that for a day or two. And then we will do a big live stream, and I'll take your calls and questions and comments, and we will debate the program rankings here at the Voice of College Football. We did that last year, and it was a rousing success with millions here to debate me on our program rankings. Also, we're in the midst of a TV ratings series, which was prompted by the dilemma that the Pac-12 finds itself in trying to negotiate and broker a media rights deal. And this was supposed to have been announced weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago, but we were still waiting for the Pac-12 to announce a deal that is going to be competitive with the Big 12 and the ACC. And so we're waiting for that. So in the meantime, I thought I would look at TV ratings for 2022, put those into context. So we have delivered that series. Please check out the videos. There are 6 of them in total. We did all 5 conferences, plus wrapped it all up and summarized and compared and contrasted the TV ratings for 2022. And more important than just the sheer numbers is the context to provide some insight and perspective on what they mean and why they resulted in the way that they did. Now, I see a lot of comments coming in that I appreciate, where people have requested different breakdowns for TV ratings. So I'm looking at those, and we will present more videos. As long as they get watched, I will continue to gladly present anything in the world of college football that you guys want to see. So again, program rankings are coming up for 2023. Then we'll do a live stream and debate. And then I'll probably let it go another 4-6 weeks so people aren't confused. Then we're going to do our all-time program rankings. All-time program rankings. And just to let you know, as is typical here at the Voice of College Football, I'm not just going to pull them out of thin air. I could be a little bit more graphic about that comment, but I'll go with that. I'm not going to just pull them out of thin air. They are going to be legitimate. They're going to be based on real information, but I'm also not going to just go by, okay, they've got a 733 winning percentage and they got a 729 winning percentage, so they must have a better program. No. It's all about taking the numbers and then using your brain to put them into context and to provide some perspective. So we will do all of that. And we are working on our all-time program rankings. And there are just some of the metrics right there that we are reviewing as I am keeping this spreadsheet updated year to year. So that should be a whole lot of fun. And again, not to confuse anyone, we're going to do our 2023 program rankings, debate those with you live, and then wait 4 to 6 weeks to talk all-time program rankings, which should be a lot of fun. Most recent commits to the Big Ten. This is everything since Jaden Davis announced last, whatever day that was, last Friday. So since Jaden Davis, the 5-star quarterback out of North Carolina, committed to Michigan, we have, of course, the aforementioned San Antonio running back James Peoples committing to Ohio State, 5th-rated running back in the country, 17th rated out of the state of Texas, the 94th rated player in America, James Peoples, to Ohio State. 2,000 yards last year, 31 touchdowns, 34 total touchdowns on 16 catches as well. Derek Jensen. He's out of Heartland, Wisconsin. He's the 33rd rated offensive tackle in the country, 5th rated player in the state of Wisconsin, top 500 player overall. Derek Jensen, offensive tackle out of Wisconsin. Guess who he committed to? Wisconsin. Drew Campbell out of Iowa, Cedar Falls, Iowa. This looks to be another player possibly in the mold of all these tremendous Iowa defensive ends that have been produced by that program in the last 10 to 15 years. Drew Campbell out of Cedar Falls, Iowa, 41st rated edge rusher, the 7th rated player in the state of Iowa. And he's roughly a top 500 player. And he is committed to the Hawkeyes. Drew Campbell. Gibson Pyle, just announced on Sunday out of Houston, Texas, interior offensive lineman, top 50 player at his position. Number 113 player in the state of Texas, has committed to Nebraska. Penn State got a commit in John Mitchell, 17th rated cornerback in the country, top 200 player, 30th rated player in the Sunshine State out of Jacksonville, has committed to Penn State. So those are your latest commits, latest announcements in the recruiting world. Ohio State gets a running back, Wisconsin an offensive tackle, Iowa gets an edge rusher out of state, an in-state edge rusher for Iowa. Gibson Pyle, Houston, Texas, goes to Nebraska. John Mitchell, cornerback out of Florida, commits to Penn State. Oh, good call there. Thank you, Hair Trigger. Hair Trigger is letting us know that Drew Campbell is Jack Campbell's brother. Well, that makes a whole lot of sense there. So Jack Campbell voted the best linebacker in college football in 2022. He was the Lombardi Award winner. Correct me if I'm mixing up, or he was the Buckeyes Award winner. The Buckeyes Award winner, Jack Campbell. Now moving on to the NFL draft. His brother. Thank you for that, Hair Trigger. Our next show is coming up on Tuesday at noon Eastern Time, the SEC Live Show. So the SEC is in the spotlight here at the Voice of College Football every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Bring your friends with you. Let's talk SEC football, noon Eastern. We typically do our USC show on Monday night, but we will suspend that in favor of the college basketball national championship game. And we will go with USC Live on Tuesday. So our Tuesday is loaded with the SEC Live show at noon. We've got Iowa Live at 5:30, Nebraska at 7, and USC at 8 Eastern. I'm sure you are certainly in love with the jacket that I've got on here. It's a sharp one. And you know where I got it? At thevoiceofcollegefootball.com. Go to thevoiceofcollegefootball.com. Check out our merch. It's worth a look. And John, appreciate you being all over the graphics here. Way ahead of me. David is curious on the columns in the spreadsheet. So once again, for your merch, check it out. Give us a look there. Thevoiceofcollegefootball.com, thevoiceofcollegefootball.com. Going back to what we had displayed here. Let's see. David is asking about our metrics here. So, all right. So, folks, let me know if there's anything else that you believe is valid to be measured in comparing programs all time. But I think this is pretty exhaustive. You've got winning percentage. You've got number of AP points, meaning the Associated Press has a system that's pretty simplistic. You basically add up the number of points that the AP poll is awarded because of your spots in the final AP poll each season. If you're number 1 in the country, you get 25 points. If you're number 25 in the country, you get 1 point, and so forth. So winning percentage all time, AP poll points, conference championships, adjusted national championships, because the powers that be have screwed up national championships through the years. So I've adjusted the national championships, but they're certainly close to what there is no official number, the unofficial number, depending on your wire service or your computer program. So adjusted national championships. Then we also look at all-time bowl wins, all-time major bowl wins, first-round NFL draft selections, overall NFL draft selections, Heisman Trophy winners, and also major award winners. And then I've given a point total to each one of those that I believe is fair. And I put that together. So we will see how that shakes out. And we first did this, I believe, 2 years ago in the off season. And we updated it last year, and we had a tremendous live stream with all of you debating the all-time program rankings. So, oh, you guys can see this screen, huh? I just thought I was putting up a blurry screen on here. Yeah, Indiana's pretty awful, Jason, winning 42% of its games all time. Pretty bad. Our guy Rick is letting us know that USC had the number 4 player from Michigan visiting this past weekend, 4-star defensive lineman Brandon Davis Swain, West Bloomfield High School. Okay. USC needs help along the defensive front. Daniel believes that Ohio State is number 2 all time to Alabama's number 1. Okay. All right, folks, the lines are open here at the Voice of College Football. Now, going forward, I've had some conversations with some of you concerning the phone system and the call-in lines. And, your preferences there, because we used to have a call-in number, and there are various reasons that I've explained multiple times as to why we are doing it this way through StreamYard now. But we did used to get a lot more calls. So I will look into, at some point, I can't guarantee I'm going to do this tomorrow. It may be a few months from now. Look into add, I think there's a Google Voice platform that's pretty effective. And maybe we will do that as well. You certainly do not have to put yourself on camera if you don't want. You can treat it as a phone call and just grab the link in the description section. Turn your camera off, and you can join the show. Thank you, David. Stats don't lie, but they can be manipulated to lie. There is no way you can have the worst winning percentage in college football and be argued into being the best program. So the stats can't be manipulated much, but they can't be manipulated. We all have used the stats that we wanted to use and put them in a certain context to defend the point that we wanted to. We've all done that. Absolutely. And certainly when it comes to those awards, the Bronco, the Nagurski, the Lombardi, Biletnikoff, Thorpe, O'Brien, Walker, all of the major awards, Mackey, we went to all of those, added all those up for each school. I think that that is the least important statistic, along with the Heisman trophies. Those were awarded by people voting. But part of the college football ranking is prestige, and part of the prestige of college football is winning such awards. And there is a validity. You can't have the 27th best linebacker in the country winning the Buckeyes Award. He may not be the best linebacker in the country, but he certainly got to be extremely close to being the best to win the Buckeyes Award for his school. So I gave that a very minimal portion, slice of the pie. And Heisman trophies as well. I think that the Heisman Trophy is the most prestigious award in sports. That said, I don't think it's real meaningful. I just don't think it's that meaningful. It's meaningful to the recipient, and it's meaningful to their popularity, their notoriety, their brand, and it's historic. We all remember Heisman Trophy winners, but does that really prove something? Was Bryce Young not just as good this past season as he was the year before? Was Eric Crouch the best football player in America in 2001? All right, folks, we will take you to the top of the hour, 8 Eastern, and then our buddy John D'Adamo steps in to take you home on the Big Ten Live Show. So Michael is telling us that stats lie without context. So that is true to a certain extent. It depends on what stats and to what degree you're saying that they are lying. I would like to see an example. Would love to hear an example. So if you want to call us, Michael, and give us an example of a stat that lies. So, for example, you can't take Boise State's winning percentage and compare it to the teams in the Power Five. It's not the same winning percentage. So sometimes you'll see listings of the best winning percentages of all time, and you'll see Boise State's number 7. Well, no, they're not. That's a factual statistic. They did win that many and lose that many for that winning percentage, but they didn't play the same schedule as everyone else. They play a different level of football. So that has to be explained. Film don't lie. Okay, again, I need some explanation and context on that. Especially at positions like offensive line, reputation means a lot. I in no one can in any way convince me that writers who are voting on the most dominant offensive linemen in the country have watched film on all the best linemen in the country. That is being awarded based on reputation going into the season and based on a scout, a personnel person somewhere that has a platform where they actually do watch the film and kind of tell everyone this offensive lineman, these 5 offensive linemen are having great seasons. And they kind of tell the rest of us who's having a good year or who is maybe declined. So the film doesn't lie, but that's also understand that football is a very dependent sport. It's a very dependent sport. The quarterbacks cannot operate without the offensive line and without the receivers. Nobody can operate without anyone else. Actually, the least dependent player on the field is the kicker. As long as, there's not a breakdown with the snap and the hold, which there's not 99.9% of the time. When you want to judge place kicking, that's the easiest position, punter and place kicker, to evaluate their performance. There's really, now punter, you can't just look at their net or their gross yardage average, because of course they're kicking to a spot on the field and trying to pin teams inside the 5 or 10 yard line. So it's not just a yardage average, but basically those are your 2 factors. How far did they kick it when they've got the full field, and how effective are they at pinning the other team down inside the 5 or 10 yard line? But other than that, they're not dependent on anyone. How common is it that a kick is blocked these days? It's not. So it's easy to rate the punters. It's pretty easy to rate the field goal kickers. You rate them by percentage. Then the only other factor that comes into it is, okay, maybe somebody's percentage was damaged by them being asked to try like 3 57-yard field goals during the season. And those should not be, counted upon. But those are the 2 easiest positions. But how do you statistically rate cornerbacks, safeties? Do the best cornerbacks get interceptions? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they just get picked on. A Damn Beast Media says the Heisman is voted on by too many folks that don't watch and in some cases don't even like college football. True and true. That became aware to me when I moved to Connecticut to take a particular job, and I started listening to Mike and the Mad Dog in New York City. And Mike Francesa, if you're aware of him, was a brilliant sports mind, big baseball guy, but had covered college football for CBS for years. And he was teamed with Mad Dog Russo, who I currently is on some ESPN show. And Chris Russo is a baseball guy. He has knowledge of the NFL and the NBA, but these guys didn't talk about college football the entire season. Nothing. They are talking about the Yankees pennant drive and the Giants and the Jets. And it's all professional sports talk the entire fall, every year. I listen to these guys every day. And the last week of the college football season, because Ohio State, Michigan, or Alabama, Auburn, or Florida, Florida State, or some game captivated everyone, they would start talking about college football just that last weekend. And then that would leak into Heisman talk. And they typically didn't even know the players' names. They just knew, yeah, that Bama quarterback's supposed to be pretty good. And this was the discussion. This was the extent of the discussion. And they both had Heisman votes. And I would just, it would pretty much make me nauseous. I'd say, okay, we've got guys voting on the Heisman Trophy that don't watch college football and they don't even know the players' names. And they're going to try to catch up on the last game of the season. They're going to watch college football on the last Saturday of the season. And they probably watch one game a week during the season, or like the fourth quarter of the best game of the week. You know, they watch the Ohio State Notre Dame game in week 1. They watch the fourth quarter and they'll mention it. And then they watched Alabama, Texas the next week, the second half. And they are supposed to be college football experts that get a Heisman vote. Yeah, it's pretty pathetic. Dan Beast Media says that the last Heisman Trophy winner that he agreed upon, and I think this is maybe tongue-in-cheek, was Charles Woodson, because, of course, Charles Woodson won the 97 Heisman over Peyton Manning. That was a shocker. But deserved. Mike, I posted your Michigan is a lock to win the spring game joke. Well, Jason, as poor as that was with Francesa, I at least had confidence that he knew college football history. I knew that he knew the history of college football and knew how the game worked, and maybe wasn't able to keep up with it to the extent that I would have liked at the time. But his Heisman vote was much more credible than the other guys. Yeah, what should I tell a story about next? Ottawa Traveler says that the snap determines the kick almost every time, and the snap is perfect, like 99% of the time. Michael says Brock Bowers versus Michael Mayer for the Mackey Award for the 22 season. Film and stats loss, but Bowers won anyway. So what he is telling us there is that Mayer had the better stats, and Michael Mayer, according to Michael, had the better film, but Bowers won anyway. I'm not going to pretend to know and really, I watched both of those guys play a ton of football, but it wasn't like I was constantly comparing them. So I didn't do like a breakdown of, okay, if I had this kind of luxury, if one of you said, compare Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, and I'd say, you know what, I'll get back to you in a day. And I'd tell assistant X to go do a breakdown of Brock Bowers and a breakdown of Michael Mayer, and I want all their receptions broken down, and I'd watch it for 12 minutes, and I'd compare them, and then I'd come back with my conclusion. I will say that what Brock Bowers did down the stretch of 2021 blew me away. Like, what he did and the way he manhandled coverages, and with the speed and breakaway ability that he showed. And when I say breakaway ability, I'm not just talking about speed. I'm talking about ability to just shed tacklers, just throw them off like they were nothing. He blew me away. I don't so much remember those kind of plays from Bowers this past season. But I thought at the time that he was the best tight end in college football. Shoelace Sooners here. Shoelace, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate that. We will be live with our Oklahoma show Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 where it counts. They're in Oklahoma. So Sooners live Wednesday, 12:30 Eastern. Hello, college football fans. Hey, Mark. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you so much for that, Shoelace Sooner. We appreciate that. DS, YouTube channel member here. DS, thank you so much for your comment. I would take Bowers over Mayer. Any Mayer. Bowers is unreal. Hair trigger, of course, is going to take Sam Laporta. I do think it's between Bowers and Mayer. When you shop Amazon, please use the link that we provide in the description section. At last count, Amazon was worth $1.7 trillion. I don't even know how to fathom that. $1.7 trillion. How many zeros are past the 7? 1170000. See, that's million. So there's billion. There's trillion, right? So there's 100,000 million billion. So that's how much Amazon's worth. 1.7 trillion. Okay. 1.7 trillion. So when you buy something from Amazon and you use our link, we may get 2%, 4%, 6%, depends on the item. Something like that. Let's say an average of 5%. So you spend $100 on Amazon and you send Amazon $95. You send the Voice of College Football $5. Thank you. If you don't, if you use your link, then you send $100 to Amazon, the company with $1.7 trillion, and you send the Voice of College Football. See, we are struggling at 1.3 trillion. So we want to catch up with Amazon. See right here, we want to catch them. We are lagging behind by $400 billion. So we here at the Voice of College Football, our aim is to catch Amazon. So we're not going to do it by you spending all that money at Amazon. But we can at least put a dent in it by sending us roughly 5%. So please consider that. The Amazon link is in the description section of all the videos. All the videos. Now, when you buy some merch at the merch store here at the Voice of College Football, we send our 2 or 3% to Amazon. No, just kidding. No, we get 100% there. No. Well, not really. We don't, meaning me. I don't get 100%, but at least you're sending 100% and you're getting some really good merch. And I got to say that I'm rather happy that by all indications, everyone who has purchased merch through our merch store and has bought gear, whether that's a mug, a jacket, a t-shirt, a hoodie, everyone has said, Mark, it's good stuff. My daughter was the guinea pig. She was the first. I said, babe, you got to buy some merch. Buy some merch, buy some different things. We got to test out the transaction process. We got to test out the merch. We got to make sure we get some good stuff. Joey sent me, I think, 7 items. Said, Joey, send me a variety of items. Let me do the transactions, make sure they work. Then I had my daughter do it, test it out with somebody else. Another friend did it. Okay, we're good. Everybody likes their merch, thinks they're quality products. Everything worked. Okay, now we can unleash it on the viewers of the Voice of College Football, all of you, all of our friends out there, and everyone that has given me feedback has said thumbs up, and that was our goal. So that makes me happy that we are delivering quality merchandise at a affordable price. That was the deal we were trying to strike, the balance we were trying to strike. So thank you to all of you who have ordered merch. There is so much stuff on there that it surprises me. Joey comes up with something different about every other day. So we will continue to do that. Shoelace Sooner, can someone explain how to become a member of the Voice of College Football? Can we get somebody to do that? Hello? We got somebody back there that can... I guess I got to. Okay. I guess I'm the one. All right. So basically, you go to the front page of our channel here. The Voice of College Football. Go to the front page of our YouTube channel right here in the main channel. And you hit the button join. Let's call that up. See, this is how much college football I talk about when nobody calls. So let's get off of this page, our Nebraska. Let's go to our main page here. And let's go to our channel. There we go. So go to the front page here. And you see here on right next to the Voice of College Football, join. And then you've got 3 selections to make. And you just check out the description of those 3 tiers and choose the one that you like. And we are always open here to your suggestions and your requests and recommendations. So please let me know. So right now, our buddy Craig, I will have to go through the memberships and look up Craig's last name. But Craig is the one YouTube member who is on the second level there that we are going to be providing exclusive content. So as it stands right now, hey, I'll say, Craig, let me know what you want. It's coming your way. So Craig, if you're out there, contact me. But just read the various levels and what the benefits are. And as always, if you have any suggestions, any recommendations, requests, let me know at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. So Shoelace Sooner, thank you so much for asking that. So Shoelace is telling us, okay, Mark, I'll try on the laptop. I don't see a join button on the iPad. Well, that's not good. I don't know if you can go to your phone, and I don't even know if I can go to my phone and I can look at my own YouTube page. So you see, that's sometimes the problem when people point out issues that they're having. I can't tell because I'm obviously the owner, so I don't know. Yeah, so I'm not able to see. It does not look like that you can join from the phone. I can't imagine that. There we go. It's under membership, maybe. Okay. There you go. All right. Shoelace is back in here. Appreciate that. Shoelace, super chat contribution. Just an FYI, I tried to find the join button in the past. Apparently, you have to do it through your desktop. I'll go try real quick and let you know. Well, thank you for doing the research on that, because I'm looking at, and again, I'm a difficult one to do this because I own the channel. So it doesn't show me what it shows you. Turn on incognito. Maybe that'll do it for me here. Let's see. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Yes. So keep me updated on that. And Shoelace Sooner, thank you for that. So we do have a big Tuesday planned here at the Voice of College Football with our SEC live show at noon Eastern time right here on the main channel. Iowa live at 5:30 Eastern, Nebraska at 7, and USC has been moved from Monday to Tuesday. I wanted to allow, of course, our buddy Matt Zemek to be able to watch the national championship game tonight in basketball. So he was pleased with that change, and so he will be able to do that. Who's playing tonight? UConn and San Diego State. Okay. Seems like a pretty inconsequential national championship game, but it is the national championship game. I can't imagine when was the last time that two non-power conference teams played for the national championship. All right. Joey's here. Joey's showing up to talk with us tonight.
Hey, what's going on?
What is going on, Joey?
Oh, nothing much. Now, I wanted to come in. I was working and watching you on TV, so I wasn't in the chat. So when you was trying to help them to figure out what to do there on your phone, and I'm trying to get to it right here so I can tell you exactly where it is. Give me one second here. So if you're on the live stream itself, and you're on your phone, just turn your chat off. Just exit your chat. You don't have to turn the video off. Just exit your chat, and right underneath the window, you'll see the Big Ten live show, and then you'll see the Voice of College Football, and then you'll see the thumbs up button, and right beside the thumbs up button is the join button.
I don't have that, but maybe it's because I own the channel.
Possibly. But yeah, that's all you've got to do. Is the join button right beside of it. So that's all I wanted to say. Now, on an Apple phone, I'm not sure. That's on an Android.
Oh, okay.
So I would think it would be the same, but I know a lot of stuff's different on Apple and Androids too. So, but it should be right in there somewhere. So, yeah. All right. And one more thing too, you forgot to mention, you can get discounts in the merchandise store if you buy more than one item. So, and they're automatically applied. So if you buy 2 items, you got a discount. You get a bigger discount for 3 items, even bigger for 4. And once you get to like 6 items, you get like 40% off. So, yeah, just letting you know. Well worth it to buy the 6 items because you're buying 5 and getting 1 free, basically. So.
Well, I I guarantee that I'm forgetting a lot more than that, Joey. So I'm forgetting all sorts of things. I get on here talking about college football, and I'm not a good promoter of our channel here. So that's why I need you.
Oh no, the John who's sitting there in the back room, I'm looking at him. John's the one that should be in there promoting, but he's good at it, isn't he? He keeps up with everything that's going on. I know everything that's going on, but I can't ever remember it on the fly. Like we have a Substack page. Go to Substack.com. Look for the Voice of College Football. We have writers there. You have, if you'd like to be a writer for Mark Rogers, send him an email, MarkRogersTV@gmail.com. Become a writer. We'll get you set up on Substack. You will be, if you make an article in there, you're going to be visible on Google and Yahoo and everything. It's automatically got search engine optimization built into it, so your article gets read. It's a great thing. And John come in when I started talking about it, didn't you, John?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just presidential debate rules. If my name's mentioned, I got to come in. So, no, but I appreciate that, Joey. And the merch, there's so much merch for your family, your friends, your neighbors. You got everything from like candles and shot glasses and canvas shoes and hats. And there's even swimming trunks in there. So when you're at the pool, you can, you're about to take a dip in the pool. You get your Voice of College Football swimming trunks.
Nice.
Hey, Shoelace Center. There it is, guys. Bring it up on the screen. If I can.
Oh, awesome.
There it is. Shoelace Center.
Very cool. Thank you, Shoelace. Appreciate
Thanks, Shoelace.
I see that we even have stickers, Voice of College Football stickers for your laptop, or whatever you want to throw it on.
And the other day I added cell phone cases for Samsung Galaxies and Apple iPhones.
You got stuff for everybody.
I do. We got something for everybody. We got women's clothing, men's clothing. We wanted to cover everything. There'll be more stuff added because I've found some new stuff that I'm gonna throw on there. So, and like for instance, we got the canvas shoes, which we was just looking at. But we're also going to have tennis shoes. So I will have tennis shoes on there.
That is phenomenal, Joey. You are too much.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, also, if you get multiple items, you get a discount, right? So
right. Yeah, I mentioned that you can get a discount.
Get yourself something for your anybody, and then everybody can be repping Voice of College Football, and also some of our friends are also on there. Golden Blue Dude, Traveling Fools,
Absolutely.
And others. So you can get those too.
Right. We created this little network of everybody and put them together because it saved a lot of money to bring a lot of people together, a lot of creators together. So we can offer you the merchandise on here. So you'll look and say, well, I can get that same shirt from this creator for $1 cheaper, or maybe the same price. What's the difference there? Here's the thing, is our stuff is top quality. I mean, we didn't go out and buy Gildan t-shirts and throw them out there, okay? Now we do have a Gildan t-shirt that's a good quality, and we've got it in there. But when you get into it'll say top quality. When I put top quality on the description, guarantee you're getting the best there is, man. It's good stuff. So you don't have to worry about if you wash it and it's going to shrink. There's none of that going to happen with our products.
Yeah, and you certainly took care of that. And we both know from all the conversations and all the meetings we had, Joey, we took great care in making sure that we did our best to say, okay, we want things to be affordable, but we also want quality items that are going to last people a long, long time. So we did our best to strike that balance. And, we ordered a ton of stuff to make sure that it was going to come through and the transactions were going to come through, and then we were going to be pleased with the items before we ever unleash this on everyone else.
Yep. So Daniel's asking, how do you use the emoji perks? So you literally just go to where you would normally go to an emoji. So it's usually on the bottom left of the chat box. And instead of just having the regular ones, you now have 4 Voice of College Football dedicated emojis. and I still owe you guys. I've got to make some for some other special ones, so we'll be adding more as we go.
Oh, also as a member, once you're a member for 1 month, if you hit the super chat button, you get to send a membership chat. So what that means is you get one highlighted chat a month automatically, to where you just type in whatever you want to say. It goes in, it's highlighted, so Mark's sure to see it and be able to read it. So you get to do that once a month as a member as well. So
I'm glad you told me that, Joey. I had no idea.
Yeah. Now there is one thing: if somebody buys a membership, and this, I don't know why they do this. So like the other night, I bought, I think, 5 memberships in here to get people started, to help people figure out the button and things. I bought 5 memberships, and when I bought them, it puts it up here to where I can see it and other people can see it. But for some reason, Mark can't see it on this end. She has no idea. So if you buy a membership and Mark don't shout you out or recognize that it was bought, it's because he can't see unless he's actually in YouTube. It won't come through StreamYard for some reason. So
I hope that everyone that's a member at some point, not that this is a big deal for everyone, but a lot of people like this, and I do need to acknowledge everyone that I do check it every couple of days just to make sure, okay, we'll do an update on the membership and give everyone a shout out and recognize and acknowledge everyone. So we have done that on various shows. Not that I'm expecting everyone has seen every show. So I try to update that every few days to make sure that we're catching everyone.
All right. I'm going to pop out, guys.
Thanks, Joey.
All right. Thank you. See y'all later.
We need Joey to keep us straight on everything, to keep me straight on everything.
Hey, there's a lot of stuff going on. So the last comment, and then I guess we'll start getting people over to the 8 p.m. block. But Jason, friend of the show and member, saying, I want to block Michigan M as an emoji. Well, we don't have that yet, but we do have a link to Fanatics. So if you get yourself some Michigan merch or other schools, and you click that link, you can actually, it'll help the channel. So if you're getting yourself a Michigan, glass or a Michigan, there's Tom Brady jerseys on there and like all kinds of different gear for your school. And Michigan has one, but every school. So if you click the link, then it's the same with Amazon where you don't have to buy the item. You can shop around and it still gives Mark some credit.
So Jason, I did ask for requests. So this is a request from Jason. So this is what I'm going to do, Jason. I believe that can be done because the emojis that were built by me. I'm not extremely creative, but I came up with about 4 or 5 options, 6, whatever it is. I basically thought, okay, this emoji makes me think of this item. And I just Googled them and they built an emoji for me. So I will go and I believe I will be able to add a Michigan logo for an emoji. Now, other fan bases are going to get pissed off, but all you need to do, I'm not going to go build 128 emojis for every team in America, but I am expecting that once somebody sees the Michigan emoji, they're going to want their team.
Absolutely. Well, Ohio State's going to
request it. Of course, they're going to be the first ones that are going to jump on that. And there's probably a limit. So at whatever point we reach that limit, I will build those out. Again, I can't promise anything, but I will attempt to do that, Jason.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is great stuff. So become a YouTube member. Currently, Shoelace Sooner not only gave a super chat, but is also a YouTube member. So Shoelace is currently dominating our ticker. So if you want to join Shoelace on the ticker, either send a super chat or become a new member to YouTube, and we'll add you.
Jason is looking for the Fanatics link.
It's
in the description section of all the videos, for one thing. I don't know if I can come up with it right this second, but you know what?
I got you.
As soon as, maybe John will be able to grab it. I was going to say, as soon as John takes over the show and starts the other stream, I can grab it and throw it in the next show's chat. Also, Tim's got a good idea, and I actually thought of this as well, Tim. I just didn't jump on it. As Joey reminded me the other day when he told me about 3 things that I needed to do that day, and I said, "Yeah, I'll get to him as soon as I can." And then it was like 4 days later, and I still hadn't gotten to him. And he laughed and said, "Yeah, I didn't expect you to get on them." Yes, you're right, Tim. I had thought of that too. We will have Voice of College Football emojis as well. So I'm going to do that right now. Jason, I'm going to look into Voice of College Football emojis and Michigan emojis. We'll add those.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to start hopping over to the 8 p.m. block here. We got the link posted right here. You're just going to literally hopscotch right over there and join us. And I have a hunch we'll have some panelists and do a panel, but I also have some topics. So we'll cover recruiting. We'll cover some other things and get rolling on that.
Absolutely, everyone. So again, when we have an improved setup, and we would have been able to do this months and months and months ago, but in the current state, we have to separate the show right now. So just bear with us. But just jump on the link that John has provided in the live chat, and it will send you right over to the 8 p.m. show. John's taken over to take you home from here on the Big Ten live show. So go have a good time, and I'll be working on emojis now.
Here we go.
So
there's your night project. All right. See everybody over there.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. So again, it's only going to take John a few seconds to jump on over there and start us off on our 8 o'clock block right here at the Voice of College Football. Big slate of shows in line for Tuesday. That's the SEC live show at noon. That's Iowa at 5:30, Nebraska at 7, and USC at 8 Eastern on the various team channels. So we will see you next time on the SEC live show right back here at noon Eastern time on Tuesday. Join John right now. The link's in the live chat right here. Or if you missed it for some reason, just stay right here on the main channel page, and you will join John next on the Big Ten live show part 2. And we'll see you at noon Eastern time on Tuesday.